Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine standing at a crossroads in your life, right? Torn between, well, duty and what your heart feels is right.
Yeah.
That's exactly where we find ourselves today, diving deep into one of the most profound texts in human history, Chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita.
Sankhya Yoga, the yoga of knowledge.
Exactly, Sankhya Yoga, or the yoga of knowledge. But crucially, we're not just looking at it through the traditional lens today. We're bringing in Osho.
Right, and his, let's say, illuminating and sometimes pretty startling insights.
Definitely startling at times.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is how this ancient struggle, Arjuna on a battlefield, it just mirrors our modern dilemmas so closely, doesn't it?
It really does.
This deep dive isn't just about, ancient philosophy. It's really about understanding the core of our identity, the nature of our actions, and maybe most importantly, how to navigate life's toughest choices with clarity, not just seeking comfort.
Clarity over comfort.
Yeah. We'll be exploring where those traditional interpretations meet Osho's, unique critique, and constantly asking, so what does this all mean for you?
Right. Our mission today is really to engage with these powerful nuggets of knowledge, shine a light on some maybe surprising facts, expose some hidden assumptions we all carry.
We all have them.
We do. And stir up some truly intelligent philosophical questions, hopefully spark some resonant aha moments for you listening.
Yeah.
Think of it as a guided exploration, a way to get well-informed about a text that's influenced millions, but seen through a lens that really challenges and, I think, expands our understanding.
Ready to step onto the chariot with Arjuna?
Let's do it. So we start right there, Arjuna on the battlefield. And it's an incredibly vivid scene.
It is.
His bow is literally slipping from his hands, his heart trembling. He's looking across and seeing his kin, his teachers, people he loves.
People he respects deeply, mentors even.
Exactly. And this isn't just, a physical war brewing. It's an internal storm, isn't it? A kind of chaos tearing through his mind, his values, everything he thought he knew about right and wrong.
Absolutely. He's shattered, overwhelmed by what feels like profound compassion or maybe grief. He's just trapped between his duty as a warrior and this overwhelming emotional paralysis.
And this is precisely where Krishna steps in. And his response is, well, it's anything but comforting, right?
Not at all. He doesn't offer a shoulder to cry on or permission to run away. Nope.
He challenges Arjuna directly, almost scolds him, you could say, asking why this, quote, weakness has come upon him.
He calls it a disease of the spirit, which sounds incredibly harsh to modern ears, maybe.
He does.
Yeah.
But Krishna isn't just being cruel here, is he? It seems like he's trying to shake Arjuna awake.
Exactly. Demanding he look beyond the surface, beyond his immediate feelings, beyond what seems like the moral high ground at that moment.
And here's where Osho comes in with a really piercing critique.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting.
He looks at Arjuna's state and says what looks like kindness, what Arjuna thinks is compassion. Osho says it's actually just fear.
Fear disguised as compassion, pity mixed up with a whole lot of confusion.
That's a challenging idea. Osho argues that true compassion, real kindness, it comes from a place of clarity and strength, not from being paralyzed by your emotions.
Right, and it makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we do that?
Oh, constantly. Maybe you kindly avoid giving difficult feedback at work, telling yourself you're being empathetic, when deep down you're just, afraid of the conflict. Or maybe you hesitate to leave a relationship or a job that's clearly wrong for you.
Rationalizing it.
Yeah, rationalizing it as loyalty or patience, when really it's just fear of the unknown, fear of change. Osho really forces us to look at how often we dress up our own fears in these beautiful words, mistaking weakness for virtue.
It's a powerful reflection. And this challenge to our assumptions, it doesn't stop there. Krishna then pivots, doesn't he? He goes even deeper to the nature of identity itself.
Right. After challenging the emotion, he goes straight to the core. Who are you, Arjuna?
He introduces this fundamental teaching. The body is like clothes. It wears out. It gets old.
And the soul. Atman.
It simply takes on another form. It's eternal, unchanging. He uses that beautiful analogy, the river flowing through many lands.
The water remains the same water.
Exactly. Doesn't matter what terrain it flows through. And he gets very specific. Fire cannot burn the soul. Water cannot wet it. Swords cannot cut it. This is a radical redefinition of who we think we are.
That idea, the soul being eternal, it sounds incredibly comforting on one level. Almost too comforting, maybe. It immediately brings up a big question for me, a philosophical one. If death isn't real in that ultimate sense, if it's just changing clothes, could this teaching, as some critics worry, lead to a kind of dangerous moral detachment? Does it risk justifying violence because, oh, well, it's just the body, not the really real soul?
That's a huge, crucial question the Gita forces us to confront, and Osho dives right into that ambiguity, too.
How does he handle it?
Well, he deepens the idea of the soul. He says it isn't some little ghost floating around. It's the very ocean of life itself.
The Osho.
And the body and mind, they're just passing waves on that ocean. A wave rises, crashes, disappears. But the ocean
remains untouched.
Untouched. So Osho asks, if we are that ocean, fundamentally, why do we cling so desperately to the waves, to our physical form, our fleeting image, our temporary experiences? He reminds us, you were there before your first breath, and you'll be there after your last. And that directly challenges that core assumption we all carry, that death is the ultimate loss, the absolute end.
And the relevance for modern life there is just huge, isn't it? We equate our identity so much with, our appearance, our possessions, our status, our job title.
Completely. It's how society largely defines us and how we define ourselves.
So what happens when we lose a job or our online reputation gets trashed? If we are only our roles, our image, then losing those things feels like annihilation.
Like dying, yeah.
But Krishna, especially through Osho's lens, pushes back. Who are you? Beyond these roles, beyond your image, beyond your physical body. Who are you when all that stuff is stripped away?
It's an uncomfortable question, maybe the crucial question, but a necessary one.
Definitely necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving from identity, Krishna then mandates action, but it's action with a very specific twist.
Right. He tells Arjuna, look, your duty, your dharma as a warrior in this specific situation is to uphold justice, to fight for what's right.
And importantly, not acting, just staying paralyzed or running away.
Yeah.
That inaction itself can be a wound, a failure.
Yes. Not speaking up when wrong has happened can be its own form of violence in a way, but then he offers this revolutionary way to act. Do it without clinging to the result.
Ah, the famous karma yoga principle.
Yeah.
Do what is right because it is right.
Yeah.
Not for what you'll get out of it. Not for praise, not for victory, not for gain.
Exactly.
Which sounds almost impossible for us modern humans, doesn't it? To act without caring about the outcome.
It goes against almost everything we're taught.
It's like asking someone to cook a beautiful meal with love, just for the joy of cooking, not hoping for compliments or, a 5-star review.
Right. And this raises another really important philosophical point, connecting it to the bigger picture.
Go on.
Can any action ever truly be completely without personal motives? Is it really possible to fight a war or even just navigate our daily lives with absolutely zero attachment to the outcome, especially when every action, every choice has consequences, shapes things?
That's the crux of it. What does it really mean to operate without desire for the fruit of the action? Can we truly separate the doing from the result in our minds?
Osho has a great way of putting it. He says, action minus desire is karma yoga. Simple equation, profound meaning.
Action minus desire. Okay.
He vividly describes how we usually act like merchants, always making deals with life. Okay, universe, I'll do this good deed, but only if I get that reward.
Oh, yeah, that sounds familiar.
But existence, Osho says, isn't a shopkeeper running a transactional business. The flower blooms not because it expects praise. The river flows not because it wants payment.
They just are. They act from their nature.
Exactly, from their overflowing nature. And Osho proposes that when you act from that place, without desperately clinging to the fruit of your labor, your action becomes pure and, paradoxically,
more effective.
More effective. Because your energy isn't scattered by anxiety about results, by fear of failure, by hope for reward. You're fully present in the doing.
And this is so relevant today. I mean, think about people in really demanding professions.
Like who?
Like a doctor, maybe, working through a pandemic. They have to act, give their absolute best every single day without letting themselves be completely crushed by the individual patient outcomes, which are often beyond their control.
That's a powerful example. Or think of the corporate worker who's torn, right, between earning for their family and maybe their conscience about some unethical company practice. How do they act with integrity?
Or an activist pushing for change, facing constant resistance, setbacks.
Yeah. Krishna's teaching here, especially as Osho interprets it, reminds us that the value of our work isn't always in the immediate, measurable results. Sometimes the integrity itself, the purity of the action despite the odds, that's the real victory.
It directly challenges that assumption. My worth is measured only by my success. Or, my actions only matter if they achieve the specific outcome I wanted.
Precisely. It shifts the focus inward to the quality of the action itself, which leads naturally into Krishna's next point, equanimity.
Inner stability.
But
Balance. Yeah, he advises being balanced in pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat, all the pairs of opposites.
He uses that great analogy of a tree rooted deep.
The leaves might shake in the storm.
But the roots hold firm, the trunk stands strong, and he also talks about the sage being like a tortoise.
Right, withdrawing its limbs into its shell.
Shielding the mind, the inner self, from all the distractions and desires swirling around, letting that inner flame burn steadily, undisturbed by the winds of the world.
And what's fascinating there is Krishna's description of the sage who is awake when the world sleeps.
Explain that a bit more.
Well, most of us are awake to external things,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Money, status, praise, power, sensory pleasures. That's what we chase. But we're kind of asleep to our inner self, our deeper consciousness.
Okay.
The sage. It's the opposite. For them, what the world calls success might look empty, meaningless. And what the world ignores, inner stillness, compassion, awareness, that quiet joy that becomes their real treasure.
It's like that image of the ocean again. Receiving countless rivers, joys, sorrows, experiences, but remaining full, yes, but fundamentally calm. Its essential nature isn't disturbed.
The sage receives life's ups and downs without being totally carried away, without losing that inner anchor.
And Osho adds a really crucial nuance here, I think. He insists this equanimity, this balance, it doesn't mean becoming cold, unfeeling, detached in a negative way.
That's important because it can sound like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Like becoming indifferent.
Right. Instead, Osho uses the analogy of a deep lake. On the surface, sure, there might be ripples, waves, even storms sometimes.
Life happens.
Life happens. But deep down, the water remains still, unmoved. The real suffering, Osho argues, isn't usually in the fact of pain itself, but in our desperate clinging to pleasure and our violent resistance to pain.
So it's the resistance, the fighting against what is, that causes the deepest turmoil.
That's his point. When you can simply observe even difficult emotions, even pain, without getting totally identified with it, it somehow loses its poisonous grip. And this, again, challenges a huge assumption we live by. Is that our emotions, especially strong ones like grief or fear, must dictate our decisions, that they have to overwhelm our inner peace. Osho and Krishna suggest. No, not necessarily.
And that teaching on equanimity feels incredibly relevant, maybe more than ever, for just navigating modern life.
Yeah.
The constant notifications, the social media comparisons, the endless stream of desires manufactured for us.
It's an onslaught.
How do we find any peace amidst all that noise? Krishna's teaching isn't about achieving some kind of impossible robotic perfection, is it?
No, not at all. It seems more about cultivating a deep internal noticing, an awareness.
So that when life's inevitable storms do come, loss, failure, betrayal, illness, that equanimity becomes your anchor. You see the storm, you feel the waves.
But you're not drowned by them.
You remain rooted.
Yeah.
You know there's a deeper stillness within you, even amidst the chaos.
Yeah. And as we've been exploring the Gita, particularly this chapter, it's just full of these rich paradoxes, these apparent contradictions.
Definitely. Krishna tells Arjuna not to grieve, but he doesn't tell him to harden his heart or become unfeeling.
Right. He asks him to fight, but specifically not with hatred or personal animosity.
Act, but don't crave the results. How do you even do that? How can you love without attachment or work hard without ambition? It feels like a total puzzle.
It does, and yet...
Yet life itself sometimes gives us hints, doesn't it? Little glimpses of this possibility.
Like...
Well, think of a mother caring for her young child. Often there's no calculation of return, no expectation of gain. Love just flows. Action happens.
Or maybe a true artist. Someone painting or composing, not just to sell or get famous, but because something inside them must be expressed. The action is its own reward, independent of external validation.
Exactly. So maybe these paradoxes aren't there just to confuse us. Maybe they're meant to deepen our understanding, to force us to look beyond simple, easy, black and white answers.
And Osho really leans into these contradictions. He uses them to provoke deeper thought, to shake up our assumptions.
How so?
He argues that Arjuna's initial refusal to fight, which looks so noble, so compassionate on the surface, is actually underneath quite selfish.
Selfish, how?
Because it's driven primarily by his pain, his confusion, his attachment to his relatives. It's not coming from a place of clear seeing or higher understanding of the situation's demands.
Okay, I see. It's about his inner turmoil, not necessarily about universal truth.
Right. And conversely, the act of fighting, which seems inherently violent and terrible, Osho suggests it might be the higher, more dharmic action in this specific context if it's done from a place of understanding, duty, and alignment with truth, without personal hatred.
That is truly unsettling. It completely messes with our simple moral categories of fighting is bad, non-fighting is good.
It does. Osho states it very directly. Sometimes non-action is the greatest violence because it lets injustice grow. Standing by passively while harm occurs can be its own form of destructive action.
Wow. That really pushes us to examine our motivations much more deeply, doesn't it? Not just the surface appearance of our actions.
Absolutely. Which brings us back to that profound philosophical question you raised earlier.
About detachment.
Yeah. Does this kind of profound detachment from outcomes, this ideal of karma yoga, ultimately lead to true moral strength, a state of pure, unburdened action? Or could it potentially slide into a kind of moral indifference, a feeling of, well, it doesn't really matter anyway?
That's the tension, isn't it? The Gita doesn't seem to give us an easy, definitive answer. It kind of invites us to wrestle with that ambiguity within ourselves in our own lives.
Precisely. It's not a rule book. It's a catalyst for self-inquiry.
So as we bring this deep dive toward a close, let's circle back. How do these profound insights from the Bhagavad Gita, particularly Chapter 2, illuminated by Osho's often challenging lens, how do they apply to your life right now? What's the takeaway?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Krishna's teaching, especially as Osho unpacks it, it really feels designed to awaken thought, to challenge our comfortable, ingrained assumptions about ourselves and the world. It becomes less about Arjuna on some ancient battlefield and much more about you and me standing at the crossroads of our own lives, facing our own inner Kurukshetra, our own battles of choice and consequence.
Every day, really. So the question becomes, will you run away when duty feels heavy, when the right action feels difficult or painful? Or will you try to find the clarity and freedom to act anyway?
Will you live driven primarily by fear and desire, constantly chasing outcomes? Or can you cultivate, even a little bit, the lightness and effectiveness of pure action done for its own sake?
And it's important to stress, this chapter, these teachings, they don't demand you instantly become some kind of perfect saint or sage overnight.
Not at all. That would be another form of pressure, of seeking a result.
Right. It feels more like an invitation, just to start walking a different path, maybe just taking one small step in that direction.
A path where you start to remember, maybe just occasionally at first, that you are more than your fear, more than your desires, more than your successes or failures.
More than the roles you play.
Exactly. A path where maybe inner peace, that sense of equanimity, starts to matter a little more than the constant hunt for outer applause or validation.
The Gita, then, instead of just giving us a single, easy answer, it hands us a mirror.
And whispers, look deeper, act wiser, live freer. It's a living teaching, isn't it? Not just some dusty ancient text to be analyzed intellectually.
It really feels that way. And maybe when you start to carry these kinds of questions, these insights in your heart, perhaps every step in life, no matter how difficult it seems on the surface, becomes a step toward that quiet, unshakable joy Krishna talks about, that inner stillness. That's a provocative thought to end on, isn't it? It is. Something for you, the listener, to mull over, maybe explore on your own.